That's dope. That's dope.
What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of Wall Street. It is Friday, February 19th, and Bitcoin is absolutely raging. It's up over $55,000 as we speak and has broken an absolute massive milestone over a $1 trillion market cap. At the moment, it is $1,027,596,559. But somehow that's not the most exciting thing today, because the most exciting thing is that I have my good friend, actually in real life. We know each other, not just internet friends, CryptoBirb. Welcome, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, buddy. Good to see you. Good to see you, Scott. And I confirm we are good friends in real life as well.
So it's 2:00 here, but a lot of people who are tuning in are probably spending their Friday nights with us, which is pretty awesome. I know not everybody is in the United States or in Eastern Standard Time. So I want to thank everybody for showing up and coming to hang out. So, man, what do you think of this? It's going nuts.
Yeah, it's going crazy. It's going crazy. Of course, before we go and proceed, to all the charts, I mean, things getting more and more intense to such an extent that we all sort of like should be feeling numb, from making profits, right? So we've been through the bursts, we've been through the bulls, we know how it feels. But long story short, I'm slowly trying to actually decrease my exposure in crypto and move it to undervalued assets, which are the commodities, in my opinion.
What other things are you looking to buy?
I actually keep reloading on gold and silver. That's the first part. In a physical, just version of the coins, bars, and everything. Then commodity as a whole, sort of like just market is definitely reversing, right? I'm actually going to pull this chart, BCOM index, right? Be it for the futures, and we're going to see that it's actually reversing as we speak. It's breaking through its 50-month average for the first time in the last 4 years. To start with, but then it's actually reversing, confirming the reversal, of after 9 years of actual Birb plus consolidation. So it's unprecedented, even in my opinion. Inflation, also as a result is supposed to sort of like just keep growing as well, with the quantitative easing. So all kind of like makes sense altogether, it seems.
Yeah, I think I've been one of the more outspoken people who's taking a beating for talking about taking profits, but I've been talking about it for quite a while. Now, I mean, to clarify, at this point, I'm generally not selling Bitcoin, but I have such a portfolio surrounding it. I mean, all of these coins, DeFi coins, I entered early and stuff. Things are 50, 100, 200x. I don't care what it is. It could literally be like, I could be holding the body of Jesus. If it's up 200x, I'm going to sell.
So you're in it for the technology.
I'm in it for the tech. But that is why I invested in things. But there becomes a certain point where you just take profit on things. And I always say, especially if it becomes a point where it's a life-changing amount of money that you have in the market, any market, you got to take some off the table and just better your life. You know what I mean? I think Bitcoin will better people's lives. I'm a hardcore believer in it. I will always have major exposure to Bitcoin, but like you can also take some dollars out from all this other stuff and go live your life. Buy your wife that thing you wanted to buy her. Send your kids to that school you wanted to send them to. You know what I mean? It's totally appropriate to be reasonable when you're making a ton of money. People don't seem to like to hear that, but
yeah. Everybody's making money, but not you, right? That's how
it always feels. But when you're patient, eventually, it's always like it's so funny. There's always the alt season argument, and like the people who are in all the right coins are like, it's alt season, it's raging, and then the people who aren't in those coins are like, my coins haven't moved, bro. I'm losing money. It's not alt season. Like, screw you.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually very sort of like intriguing to watch as a sort of like a social experiment, because it just like all those alt seasons are telling us so much, actually in a 100% exposed way about human psychology, right? It's actually Wild West, and there's no other market on the planet. There's never been anything like this before, that you see people just being like, I only made fucking 5x, like give me 100x. I only made
it's
5x. Listen, I mean, this is it.
I
I
joke
mean,
about that all the time. I used to be so excited if like my portfolio did like 10 or 20% in a year when I was in
yeah,
stock.
exactly, right? That's
In a
what I mean. I
year.
mean, exactly. That's what I mean. And that's sort of like, 10, 12% is an average return stock, on yields on the stock, for aggregated kind of like couple of decades of look back period. So what the fuck do we want more out of it?
Yeah.
And like,
I think you
it's
take what you
it's
can
crazy.
get. To the old
It's super crazy.
gift horse in the mouth, bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. There's plenty of analogies and plenty of people who have been through this. And honestly, I mean, I do think this is different than 2017. I think there are going to be market cycles. I think it's different money. It's different psychology. But like, if you went through this in 2017 and still haven't learned to take any profits, then
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no way. I mean, it's sort of like obvious that, everybody's situation on, the life situation, the sort of like life stage, the psychological, emotional situation, like financial situation, all of that is different for everybody, right? So even if you give out, your portfolio tips, or even if you give and share your portfolio allocation, with different asset classes, it's definitely not going to apply in the same way, to everybody who's trying to follow that. And then all of a sudden it may happen that you're actually getting reached and they are getting like fucked up, right? They're blowing up their accounts because of being over leveraged or so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, so everybody who should definitely, strive for getting the knowledge enough to satisfy their sort of like, demand, to be able to cover their greed safely and
Yeah.
in a secure way, to distribute their wealth, among different sort of like asset classes. As I say, I'm actually this is not sort of like confirmed just yet, but I'm having actually plans to take over a medical center in my town,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah. I mean, there is definitely just quite a big urge on my end to reallocate the capital, right? I mean, the volatility on the market and for crypto, again, before we pull up the charts, it's insane, right? And the bubbles historically, have proven that every single time it would, retrace by about 80 to 85% on average, or even 90%, like it was in the 2011, the first bubble, when Bitcoin
Yeah.
was like, $31, then it crashed, down to 194, 98. So this type of volatility is exactly what's going to cost a lot of people in the next months, in my opinion. And there is this one of my favorite sort of like indicators that is called an UPL, and net unrealized profit and loss, which I quite frequently share recently. And
Yeah.
this just tells you how much money is being left on the table, and it's fucking insane. It's insane.
Yeah. It really is. I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead and share your charts. Just have at
Yeah,
it.
let's do this.
Because
Let's do
my
this.
audience hasn't seen your amazing charts, some of them. Although I have a strong feeling that a lot of your audience do, probably more than mine.
Maybe let's see. Yeah, so this is actually, this itself is this net unrealized profit and loss, as I said, and you're going to see me pulling up this chart, quite often in the near future, because I sort of like get it as a main leading top reversal indicator. And most importantly, in the past, right? Let it just try to make it black. In the past, you would see all of those sort of like, just periods where it actually just went, judging by the color in the blue part, right? This is actually exceeding this net unrealized profit and loss, right, at the actual level of 0.75. And this sort of like a threshold is what is considered, to be the final stage of the bull market historically. And again, some people would tell you that, history, like, how can you, like, extrapolate what was in the past and put it into the future? And I agree to some extent, but it's also sort of like confirmed that the financial market cycles, they do exist, right? They do exist. Trends do exist. Perhaps random walk theory believers, are not necessarily satisfied with that, but they do exist. Trends in financial markets are actually, for the cycles, or cyclicality of the markets, of course, this does exist. And this means there's a repetitive, just sort of like a phenomenon of human behavior, right? This Wild West is accelerating. And right now, it's easily telling you right now that, again, putting that in the sort of like past context, you can tell that we are actually slowly invading this final stage of the bull market, as we speak, right? And I'm not saying this is going to reverse like tomorrow or the next week, but this is the reason, why while the mainstream is joining, this is slowly time, in my opinion, to move out of the market, right? And it's not a I don't mean, I just leave for good, right? I never left for good, and probably never will leave for good, right? Because it's just too much fun. But as I'm saying, like, what's like if an asset, like just like you Scott shared, it goes 100x, 200x, like it's more x's that most of the traditional traders would ever see in their entire lives altogether combined. And like the question is, okay, it's made 200x, like how more do I want it to fucking go, right? Like it's made already 200x. I should better appreciate what I've got already, right? Because, well, this type of volatility is actually impossible to be sustained, right? It's not sustainable. So moving that assets, sort of like moving the capital from the overvalued assets to the undervalued assets. Let's say you made 50x, right? Then the chances that it's 50x, just turns into 100x. Well, this would be like 2x of your current 50x position, right? Well, you can, for example, take this 50x position, put it in the silver, which is highly better valued, which is much more undervalued, and you can wait 2-3 years perhaps.
Right.
And it is going to make you 5x or even 10x.
I'm very bullish on silver. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm very bullish on silver as well. Yeah.
Same here. I actually recorded that. This is a fun fact, actually. I didn't reveal that just yet. But last week, I had this amazing pleasure to record a podcast with Bob Lucas. And, he's amazing, cyclist.
So love him.
I mean, not a cyclist, but the cyclist
at getting the cycles. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I hear that he only charts on a bike.
Yeah, exactly, right. That's my point. And we were talking about bullish, right? Bullishness on the silver, right? On the metals, on the commodities, on crude oil, of course. So the point is to keep those assets moving, right? If you actually, for those who watched one of my favorite movies, Wolf of Wall Street with Leo DiCaprio, right, and Matthew McConaughey. I mean, there was this amazing scene when they were in this, just up in the building, right, on the Wall Street, having this dinner. They were doing this fucking like just singing, dancing stuff. One of my favorite parts. I mean, it's pretty
so
amazing.
Good.
Yeah, but what Matthew just shared in there, and what Mark Hanna shared in there, was that the money sort of like needs to circulate, between the pockets, right? They were actually, just sort of like doing this aggressive, dirty sales, on the penny stocks, of course, but it was actually before the 87 crash. But the money needs to circulate. I mean, if you hold it for too long in a single asset class or in an asset, it's going to depreciate all of a sudden because the financial markets cycles are inevitable, right? So whatever has the bull market is going to have a bear market after that, and then it's going to have another bull market after that, right? So the entire point is, I mean, depending on the strategy. I myself, I'm a position trader mainly, right? And whenever the opportunities appear, like for the DeFi or for the altcoin pumps, I do believe 2017 was actually a test pump for altcoins. It's funny when I'm thinking about it, but I think the capital that is being slowly migrated and that is moving to the crypto right now, that is being built by the companies like Tesla, like Apple, right? Or like Microsoft is going to soon probably launch crypto payments, like Alibaba, Amazon, right? This is all part of the building liquidity process, which is needed. The liquidity is needed for the big money to exit the market, right? So that's sort of like this type of volatility. The higher we go, right, the bigger the volatility is going to be. And all of a sudden, you're going to see this $10,000, $15,000 days upwards and downwards, in my opinion.
Oh, sure.
And this type of volatility is going to be one of the top signals as well, right? Because the volatility is always the biggest on the actual peaks and troughs.
Right. Well, it's funny with the trader's mind. I look at this chart and all I see is an ascending triangle, right? I see a flat top and higher lows. So obviously what's encouraging about this, if you want to talk about the cycles, it's very clear from looking at this chart, at least back to, it's basically back to the beginning of Bitcoin, that the capitulation and the hope and fear are reduced with each cycle, which would, in my mind, and I've never looked at this chart before, but in my mind would indicate, a maturing asset, and that things are generally improving. So even, looking at that, it can be viewed as bearish if you think there's going to be a correction, but the correction should be relatively smaller than the previous ones as far as how far it swings. So
you think so? That's actually interesting. Why would you think so?
Well, I'm just saying, because if you look at that chart, each low peak is getting higher, right? So there's just not as much capitulation on the more recent cycles as the other ones, which makes sense when you think about previous cycles in Bitcoin being more obviously speculative. And now, I mean, I hate to say this time it's different. I mean, John Templeton said, "Sir, those are the most dangerous forwards."
That's one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah. But I mean, you're looking at the price of Bitcoin right now, it's just passed through 55,000. And quite literally, Michael Saylor told the entire planet he was going to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin this week. And there's still people trying to short this like complete fucking jackasses. I'm sorry.
No way.
Like,
no way.
The guy literally published the easiest trade of all time and said, and you can't tell me, I've said this so many times, but it went from 600 million to 900 million to over $1 billion. The convertible note, he raised 0%. And he's doing this right after he just trained 2,000 companies on how to buy Bitcoin. You can't tell me he doesn't know exactly who is and who isn't. Even if 5% of those 2,000 companies buy, it's 100 more companies. We've gone to 55,000 with like 5 companies buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. It's actually crazy when you think about it. I mean, I'm personally, I'm typically, sort of like a more risk averse person, or neutral risk, I'm not necessarily a gambler, so that whatever the price, I'm just going to go all in, right? And just because I enjoy the show and I enjoy the thrill. So I would always try to sort of like, just search for the ways to mitigate the risk, to decrease the risk, right? And as much as I love, as I said, this overall vibe, we're all getting rich, right? I mean, you're going to see those, and I'm just looking, how kidding, because many people are actually heavily underperforming. Many people, because of shorting, because of FOMOing, because of like if you try to trade this madness on the lower time frames, you're going to be peeled upwards and downwards 10 times in a row before you actually make profit out of it.
I haven't taken a leverage trade in weeks. Maybe
me neither actually.
Like, why would I trade? Why would I trade? I just spent 3 years buying stuff waiting for this to happen. Why the hell would I trade it away? Yeah.
But this is actually very very interesting part of human psychology, if you think about it. You and I know that because with you're kind of like my older brother, right? We laughed the other day that I could be my dad.
Young.
Yeah. But most important sort of like part is, that you've been through a lot already. You've been through 2008, right? You've been through a lot of sort of like upwards and downwards. So you have this holistic view. You know that whatever is going up is going to come down at one point. And this is sort of like this second side of the story that most of the people who are joining late, that I see. And because if they join, somewhere in here, that the only thing that I see is that it's going up, right? And there's actually this entire prospect theory coming on the behavioral finance and explaining why people have the perception biases. It's actually very interesting because this touches upon the main fundamental sort of like a phenomenon that we as people too often disconnect from our initial statements, initial ideas. And when you have your sort of like an initial idea, let's say to trade Bitcoin high time frame, right? Then more often, for example, you would see and check your portfolio health, right? Let's say then your new reference point appears, right? And this is sort of like when you repeat it, then for example, you see some micro dump, with 1 hour time frame, and then you go look at your portfolio because you're heavily overexposed. And then you look, it's going down, right? And all of a sudden you fucking forget about what you came for, right?
Oh, true.
And this makes you pretty much like just put it, in this dynamic loop of changing dynamic sort of like reference points, which prospect theory explains. But one of the perception biases is called saliency. And the saliency is that because something didn't happen in the past days, weeks, or months, or years, you think it's never going to happen again, right? Because That's the reason why people never buy the flood insurance. Like their flood, until their houses are flooded, right? Or they never expect the crash until it's actually coming, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point. I mean, my type of my point of perspective, my perspective of of looking at Bitcoin is, or actually this is sort of like how the professionals are seeing the assets. Those who are joining late, they see, okay, it's going up so much, it's grown 10x. The trend is so strong that it needs to fucking continue until forever, right? It needs to just continue this way. The wise money, which say, okay, Bitcoin's increased, it appreciated 15x in under 1 year, right? Perhaps it's worth to take profits because nobody knows where it's going to come, right?
Yeah. I mean,
so that's,
it's a concept many people are familiar with, the recency bias. Like you always, everything that you think, the way that you approach situations is always based on the most recent events. It's like having a EMA versus an MA, right? It is exponential moving average. It's weighted towards, or a normalcy bias. If I haven't seen it, it can't happen. That was probably the biggest issue for people at the beginning of COVID as well. Like you just don't believe it because that shit is from movies from the early 1900s, global pandemic, whatever, something that you can't understand. But I just find it very interesting, that people are so averse to taking profits, kind of like you said. And one other thing, what you were talking about there, it's psychologically, people can only seem to compare where their portfolio is versus the all-time high. It's exactly what you were saying. But like, you could literally be up 5,000% in a year and down in a 20% in a week. And someone will tell you how far they're down, not how far they're up.
100%.
Right. And if you're only comparing yourself to the best result, you literally are always emotionally behind the 8 ball and going to make bad decisions because you don't understand. You're always trying to get to the highest possible number as opposed to realizing how far you are from the lowest.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is one thing, to the story, but the other side as well is that people would keep comparing. They would keep trying to compare to the others. Like there are some amazing traders, who are trading, just in a more gambling way, but they're perfect at it, right? I could never be such an efficient gambler as they are. I'm talking, for example, of Rookie, right? I mean, he's playing millions and left and right, day and night. I mean, they love it. I mean, this is amazing guy, right? And and well done. I mean, good for them. But it doesn't mean that I should be doing the same because, for example, I mean, you should be sticking with what makes you money. This is so fucking simple, right? If you're trying gambling, if you see some of your friends are getting rich, by scalping, for example, right, which is the most degenerate way to get rich, actually, then you would try to apply the same stuff, right? And if it doesn't work for you, and if you keep blowing up, one account after another, it's fifth account that you have actually just blown up, right? Then perhaps it's time to stop at one point and think, okay, this shit is losing me money, right? Let's fucking push it. Let's not touch it for a second, right? For a while. Let's try to get some perspective.
Instead, people double down. It's like when you lose $100 on the blackjack table, you put down 200 because you want to get your 100 back, and that's just not how it works. In fact, you should be decreasing your bets as you're losing, not increasing them. I can't trade like those guys either. I don't have I can't do that. I have a family. I have things to look after. I can't be staring at a screen every minute of my life. And what works for us, works for us.
Exactly. And on top of it,
there's watching it.
This is fun. But there's entire variety of strategies. You can be a buy and hold trader, which buys, right, and holds the positions for, like Warren Buffett did with Amazon stocks, right, or with Coca-Cola shares. They held that for a couple of decades, right, or whatever the longer period. You can be a position trader again, just like myself, right? That I'm actually just holding a position. I'm not necessarily making any aggressive moves, more frequently than once in a month. I'm not rebalancing any sort of like my portfolio more frequently than once in a month. And you can also be a swing trader, right? And you can by trading swings. I mean, I often fluctuate between position trading and swing trading because, for example, I'm a buy and hold trader at least, or a position trader, but in the long-term perspective for gold and silver, right? But for Bitcoin, this type of volatility and the acceleration of the market wouldn't allow me to do that because, until At the same time, I think that, that silver, for example, would match their new all-time highs, which I think is going to happen easily within the next 2-3 years. Then Bitcoin is probably going to be having another bear market done behind already, right? So this type of volatility is is enforcing on me, to have sort of like a different strategy, for DeFi, different strategy for Bitcoin, different strategy for altcoins, and this is actually the chart, the comparison between the total market capitalization, right, which is sort of like this black thick line, right? I'm talking about this
Right.
one, and you see the total altcoin cap excluding Bitcoin, right? So you see that there is overall sort of like uh, big participation in the first place, Bitcoin, of course, which you can see and read by the dominance chart, right? This is about 60% of dominance. But the most important sort of like information out of it for me is that they both sort of like align, they both align, yeah, but Bitcoin for its market cap grows along with altcoins, or actually the altcoins grow along with Bitcoin, which tells me that, if the market cap is actually increasing heavily, right, we're talking about like what, 70% increase, right, in the past, what, month, what the fuck is that even, right? And then big part of it is not only coming, about 60% is coming from Bitcoin, and the 40% is coming from altcoins, which is a very bullish information for altcoins, because it used to be like 10 percentage points, less a month ago or two, right? So we are seeing this positive sort of phenomenon, positive situation for altcoins, where the mainstream is actually joining right now, and they're not only buying Bitcoin, but the capital is also migrating to fill and saturate slowly the altcoin market, which makes me think that already with us, just being passed sort of through the highs of the market cap records, of 2017 and 18. Oh, come on, 2017 and 18. Then of course, excluding inflation, because that's another story. But you would see like how proportionally bigger this potential alt season of the capital saturation on the market is going to be, right?
Sure.
So this capital that comes to the Bitcoin, right? And when the Bitcoin pops at one point, or when it's going to heavily, just risk off, right? Then you will probably see this capital migrating over to altcoins, which makes me think that those altcoins are actually going to present us with like 2017 pumps on steroids. I mean, I cannot believe I'm saying that, but it's actually, it seems real.
I agree. Even the dead ones.
yeah, even those, they're already just crawling down into zero. Yeah.
I want to just clarify something for people who are listening, because everything that Birb and I say at any given time is very much geared towards the way we approach markets, or the way we look at things. If you are buying Bitcoin as an investment in the same way that you would buy a stock for your retirement in 40 years, you don't need to worry about the next bear market or the one that's going to happen in 7 years. You just buy slowly, dollar cost average, check it every quarter, and don't think about it, and you hold it. Like, if you view, as I largely do to some degree, if you view Bitcoin as like your savings account, you don't try to time exiting and entering your savings account, right? So this is still sort of a trader's view to some degree. Like, there's a way to maximize, and those are things that we do. But like, if you're listening and you're thinking, holy crap, I bought Bitcoin, I need to sell it right now, we're not saying that, right? Every single person has a different time horizon, a different whatever. I look at my stock portfolio like twice a year at this point. It's like it's almost like not even on my radar, and it's been my retirement saving forever, but like, it's just automatically dollar cost averaging into the market over time, and I don't even think about it. And I'll worry about it in 20 years when I retire, which is crazy that my retirement age is in 21 years, but college was even more than 21 years ago. That's insane. But so I just think it's really important to understand that anyone who's listening, you have your own system, you have your own time horizon, and what works for us doesn't necessarily, work for you.
100%, couldn't agree more. And on top of that, let me just say that everybody, should not be waiting to be spoon-fed. You could see so many people, just under Scott's, or mine comments that, like, give me targets. Like, what the fuck is this shit even? I mean, like, first of all, you come here, like, if we are kind, like Scott and I do often share, all those free tips, Like Scott is having his amazing newsletter, which I am proud of. I mean, I keep reading that. This is amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Scott, well done. And
Thank you.
all of that is definitely just making a lot of efforts, right? I mean, it's requiring a lot of efforts and a lot of energy being time being put behind it. So to start with, I mean, you're having either free or even some paid content. I myself, I've been running for 4 years, actually more even. Probably currently one of the largest, and the most reputable trade groups, right? Trading communities. And I'm actually leveling out this entire company, and it's going to be a huge group of companies where it's going to be, the software house, the blockchain solutions implementation, the blockchain audits, the incubator, the marketing agency, the educational platform, of course, for investors, the changes of campaigns at restaurants, the merchandise and everything. I mean, this is, of course, just costing a lot of time, but most importantly, I mean, you are going to see so much content, from myself or from Scott that we issue for free on a regular basis, right? So there is no like a get rich quick scheme available. Nobody's become rich, because of being constantly lucky for day in day out, that they keep winning the lotteries, just every single day. It's impossible. The chances and odds are against you. So you can either, just live in a delusional bubble and believe that somebody else is going to make you money and that you're going to become rich by listening to what other people in television tell you, right? Or you're just going to take fucking care of yourself and your own life. You're just going to open a book, right? Or investing in a course, whatever. This money, like, listen, see, CMT, many people may know I'm actually a certified technical analyst. And I'm actually on my way to get a full designation, which is probably going to make me one of the very, very few. And it's very scarce in the space. But I'm not doing that to boost myself. I'm doing that to gain the knowledge. And this fucking book costed me about $250. Where I'm located, I'm in Poland. I'm Polish. For this book, you could live for 1 month rent in almost some city suburbs. Okay, for some people, it's insane amount of money. But most importantly, I consider that as an investment. This book, the knowledge in this fucking book is going to generate positive ROI, like multiply many, many X's on what I invested in this book, right? For this book, I'm going to be able to probably like write for my entire fucking life, until I die, with the knowledge out of it. And this comes with $250. That's the way I look at it, right? So you can have books, you can have amazing newsletters like Scott, right? And like activity and this proactivity. This is also one of the actually the most important feature and the characteristics that I try to always sort of like associate with some people on this basis. I don't really allow just allow to enter any people who are not necessarily proactive, who are lazy. The proactivity means that you're actually striving yourself. You have this energy and this attitude, this approach to solve problems. When you're not having this attitude, it means you're fucking lazy. And you're not only going to not make it, I mean, you're not going to make it, but you're also going to lose it on top of it sooner or later, right? Because of your laziness. And you will pay the cost. You will pay the debt that you generate yourself. And most importantly, as I say, when you commit, like some people, like, listen, this is actually very interesting. I myself, I'm a chemical technology engineer as well for my main background, right? So I deal a lot with chemistry, with physics. I know, about the energy flows pretty much like, between the matter, like material particles. But the most important part is that, this energy flows. There is no like an energy evaporation out of the entire system. The system is not isolated, right? I'm talking about the entire sort of like world and the universe. It's not that this energy evaporates. It's just migrating to another object. And the same way, like, you can call it the karma, what goes around comes around. When you're putting in your efforts, your work and energy into learning, this is somehow, is going to be converted and it's going to come back to you in a multiplied effect when you have good intentions and when you're actually just trying to make good. I mean, again, call it karma, call it what goes around comes around, call it energy, right? I believe in, in God, I'm a Christian. And, like there are so many ways that you can actually just approach that. But the most important part is not being lazy, is being proactive. This is what makes you successful.
I agree. It's funny. When I interviewed Michael Saylor, you sound exactly like him talking about the energy. So I know that you're definitely on the right track. I mean, listen.
This is actually hilarious because yesterday I took in a quick nap, and I had this dream with Michael Saylor, however it sounds, and he told me that he's going, like, provided that I'm not going to reveal to anybody else, that he's going to tell me when he's going to start the bear market. And then I woke up.
He has the power now.
This is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, to that end, what you're saying, I think that it's absolutely true. And listen, I've learned a lot over a couple decades, and like large parts of my DJ career, when I look back at it, it was because I wanted to be lazy and I didn't want to do anything, and it was like the easiest path to having fun and not committing to things. And well, that changes when you grow up and you get married and all this stuff. And now, like, there's people in my life who think I'm a lunatic at this point. They're like, you've made all this money. Like, I could retire, frankly. Like, I can go stop doing anything and I can not work anymore. Instead, like this week, I hired like a full-time YouTube guy to make more content, which I'm not getting paid for any of it. It's literally coming out of my pocket. I'm paying somebody many thousands of dollars a month to help me produce content, do more, because I just want to do it. I'm going to lose my mind if I sit around. Like, at this point in my life, I just have to be going, like, at all times. I mean, I have ADD, whatever, but like, you know, I woke up today at 4:45 in the morning. I made a video. I started like writing a newsletter, took my kids to school, wrote the rest of the newsletter, recorded 2 podcasts, came on here with you. That's what I'm trying to do here. You know what I mean? And they ask me why. It's just because I'm passionate about it, and B, like, there's so much crappy information in this space. And I'm not saying that like anyone should view me as any sort of guru or anything, because I'm not. I'm just a guy who's learned a lot of lessons that many of you are probably a few years behind on, you know? And I want to impart that to people. And of course, then you just go out there and everybody calls you a paid shill and a scammer. But the reality is, and I know you very well, and I know that you just want to help people. You know, and like at the end of the day, we just want to put out as much content as possible, help people, because it might not last forever. Like, maybe I won't want to work in 2 or 3 years. I don't know. But right now, man, just got like, I just, you know, I'll sleep when I'm 50, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate. I can associate exactly with what you're saying. And this is perfect. This is probably why we're having, you know, such a good vibe, you know, because we understand each other perfectly about, you know, what we want from our lives to sort of extent. Like, we understand that committing, like making an effort, producing those efforts out of your energy, this is value itself. This is valuable, right? You're generating value for yourself, for your people, for your family, most importantly, right? Now, wealth, like, listen, money and wealth, this is just a medium. This should never be like an end goal, right? Because once it becomes your end goal, then things are going ugly, you know. Then things are getting getting ugly. Because then you discover, you know, that you have the money gives you the power, right? And if you achieve the money, then what you've not achieved so far just yet until then is power, and you're going to start buying the powers, and you're just going to be, because people are really fucked by the nature. You know, you're going to see like all those wars being done, you know, being made. This is pretty crazy. But like, you know, this sort of like main takeaway of this message alone is that if you keep striving, if you keep, you know, just grinding, if you keep doing, right, productively, then there's no way it's not going to lead you somewhere nice.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, you come to realize that, like, and I joked about this on Twitter recently, everybody has this like number in mind. If I hit that number, I'm done. I'm retiring, like I'm whatever. No, you won't. You won't. The goalpost will always continue to move, but you come to learn that it's very much the journey and not the destination that matters. It's so corny to say it, but like it's just, you're having fun doing it. When you get there, you just want to keep having fun doing it.
100%.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I love everything I'm doing. It's so much fun. So I just keep doing it, and it literally doesn't matter. I'm going to take some profits.
Yeah, I actually loved, you know, what Elon Musk just commented. I mean, there was this like a Forbes or something, you know, listed him as the most, like, as the wealthiest investor, company owner, whatever, right? He took over Jeff Bezos, right, or something, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but like the way he sort of like quoted, the way he answered that was, oh, okay, I'm back to work, right? Good to know. I'm back to work, something like this. And
yeah,
that's the type of
I had a friend
mindset.
who I have a friend who we talked about who like he was a very large like hedge fund guy, and he eventually got to like number 3 at one of the biggest hedge funds in the world. They weren't going to push him up anymore. He's like, I've got enough. I'm done. And he lasted 6 months before he went and started his own.
Yeah.
So fun.
We are
He's
all
like,
addicts. We are
it's
all
like his
addicts.
wife was sick of him and he was bored, and so like you know, doesn't
we are
really
all
matter.
addicts.
But really, I mean, it's very strange, and people listening, it's whatever. Yes, you can't say. Someone said you can't say these things to a starving child in Africa, and we're obviously all cognizant of that. Like we're in very blessed situations at the very least. But you do find that once you start to hit those numbers or whatever, if you've been at least comfortable before, like if you were very poor and you get money, it makes a huge difference. But I've been living a like at least comfortable life for a long time. Once you hit those numbers, you start to realize like there's nothing I want to buy. There's nothing I want to do. It doesn't even, maybe I have a little more comfort, but it's like, cool, I got it. Now what? Like, I'm not going to stop, you know? And I think that that's a common theme among more people. It just, like, yeah, money is amazing, like, but you get to a certain point where it's very nice to not worry about it, but then there's nothing fulfilling in it at all.
Yeah. I mean, you know, again, this is like you're talking about, you know, some money sort of like a level or wealth level, right? That everybody would tell you that they would quit. They wouldn't quit because apparently it's not really fulfilling their sort of like this. Money is empty, right? Apparently you can print as much money as you want nowadays, right? Unless you're a normal person, they would put your fucking ass in jail. But you can print money. Money is worthless itself. It's the measure, you know, of your sort of like wealth or goodness is what you're going to do with that money in a positive manner, like, you know, whom you're going to help. Myself, you know, because of being Christian, I actually want to build church one day, and I'm not talking about the, you know, believers of Birb, whatever. I'm talking about, you know, like an actual fund the church, right?
The Church of Birb.
Yeah, it sucks this way, but literally, right? And you know, or actually buy, like not a buy, but fund, you know, fund and then set up a proper education, you know, the schools, perhaps the universities, when there you could actually just, you know, learn about the financial freedom. Because I do believe that, especially after the, you know, this pandemic and this entire COVID situation of 2020, you could see huge wealth migration, and this wealth migration is actually, you know, just stealing. I'm not a communist, right? But so I don't necessarily believe that whether you work or not, you simply deserve the money, right? Now, like we are the market, so we believe that, you know, our works, our efforts should be sort of like should pay off, and to some extent. But we also know that, you know, the poor people are becoming poorer, and the rich people who are the richest 1%, you know, who owns right now about 50% of the total wealth on the planet. I mean, this is becoming too much sort of like centralized to some extent. And the centralization, apparently, you know, if you see throughout the, you know, history of countries, being, you know, for the engagement of government into, or the invasion of government, you know, into the, when they are too sort of like active and too engaged in creating the monetary policy, let's say, right? This is all sort of like central planned too much at one point. And if you have too much control. And what I'm trying to do with the Nest, and what I'm trying to do, you know, with my future sort of like companies and brands and subsidiaries, is I'm really going to help people become financially free. And people may not necessarily, you know, just see that they are not free anymore. You know, you like back in the days. I mean, this is extremely awful in the humankind's history. But you would see, you know, people in the cages. I mean, right now probably there are some people in the cages somewhere in the black market, right? But the problem is that we are currently caged, but we cannot see the cage because it's sort of like invisible, right? It's made out of money, which practically doesn't exist apparently, because they can print it, you know, they can do whatever they want. So yeah, I'm trying to really, you know, just open up some eyes. I'm really trying to help people just like you are, you know, just get rich, right? And but at the same time, getting rich itself is not necessarily the final goal, because it's about how you're going to use this, you know, getting rich for, right? just an example. I mean, again, I'm not saying, I'm definitely far from being perfect. What I'm trying to do recently is I'm also trying to donate to some charities, right? There was a girl who was actually, just in the quite an urgent need, for her legs operation, and we actually helped, and we actually managed. I actually donated a lot of my money. That's just like a pop out of it, but I managed to help actually like finish and complete this donation process for her. We managed to collect all the money for her, right? Similarly, there is an amazing parrot sanctuary, the Oasis Sanctuary, in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm actually just supporting them as well on quite a regular basis, right? You would be surprised, by the way, how many like parrots are like. This is also sort of like a black market, if you wish.
Yeah, sure.
Right? This is illegal wildlife, and yeah, so all of that, again, it's how you're going to make your like put your money into work, right? That defines you, let's say, as a good person if you have a lot, right? Because the money itself should never be, in my opinion, an answer, right? It's never going to solve your biggest problems.
Yeah, I agree. And now I see you're opening some more charts, so have at it.
Yeah. This is the said Bloomberg Commodity Index, the BCOM. This is actually a futures, so futures contract. Most important part is that if we take the indicators, for the, let's say, 50-month moving average, then you're going to literally see that we are talking about this first reversal that happened since like the actual breakdown was in 2013 February, exactly 8 years ago, right? And this is the first time it's actually breaking out to the upwards in the past 8 years. And we are, in my opinion, looking at the generational sort of like reversal to the bull market, for the commodities, right? You could tell that, for example, by the crude oil, right? Which it's been pushing, highly as the energy prices increase. You'd see, of course, the metals, which is, very the industrial metals for copper, for example, it pumped heavily as well, right? If we go quickly ahead and check it, copper mini, let's see. Right there, they had this continuous contract. This is for the next one, right? Whatever. I mean, this is really pressing hard, and big part, like copper itself as a crucial, essential metal for the industry. This is responsible partially in a big way, for the actual this Bloomberg Commodity Index breakout, right? This is leading, like it's having really good weight in this index measure, and on top of it, the 3%, if I'm not mistaken, belong to precious metals, which is gold in the majority, and silver. And silver is actually very interesting because silver is a small market. Silver is a very small market, and for the capitalization, I can't recall. It's like half $1.5 trillion, right? But it's small market, the capitalization, and the actual supply. The supply is shrinking heavily, of course. And on top of it, it's like, if I'm not mistaken, again, correct me, Scott, if you know of it, but about 80 billion a year worth of dollars is being just mined for silver.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It sounds right.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, I don't know the answer, so yeah.
Yeah. But most importantly, silver has like I'm super excited about silver because it actually printed, for this amazing, beautiful confluence of the fundamental, the economic, and the technical reversal, right? We are talking like, look at it. Let me actually just show it on. I'm just going to put the arrow for you, right? I'm talking about this breakout. So firstly, this candle, right? This is a monthly chart. So we're talking about July 2020, right? This candle from $18 per ounce up to 26. This is what reversed and broke out silver out of this 7-8 year long accumulation period, right? And like, you cannot ignore that, simply. right? This is 7-year long accumulation, and
Crazy. Yeah.
like, come on, this is like such an amazing signal and confluent, just confluent with the fundamentals, I mean, with the economic sort of like point of view, because the commodities, I mean, you have the Bloomberg Commodity Index as a whole, showing the whole industry, whole sort of like a commodities group, the asset class reversing, right? And silver is just quite a significant and part of it, important part of it. But what's most important is that it rallies like cryptocurrencies, like that it rallies quite often in bubbles, right? Like if you look, for example, at at this sort of like entire rally, right? Then it is typical bubble, right? You have like an increase of in a matter of what 2-3 years, from $8 per ounce up to $50 per ounce, right? And then for the entire time, you would see this overall inflation kicking in, because the commodities are also heavily correlated with the inflation. I mean, inflation is a result of increasing commodity prices mostly. So right now we are seeing this overall tendency, of devaluating the currencies, which is a way for the governments, for the global governments, to exit the debts, to pay out the debts in an inflationary way, which means that the debt become worthless, right? The debts become worthless. The debts become valueless. And for the average Joe perspective, from the average Joe perspective, okay, you get the stimulus, right? And you're good, right? You don't need to look at the chart, because you get a stimulus, right? That's going to, be good for you, right? You're going to have a couple of beers or something, put it, and then you just live of it, like one month after another. But you never wonder that this $1,000 that you actually got out of the stimulus, it used to be twice as much worth, in a couple of years ago, right? And like, if we open up this the dollar index, let's say, I think
it's my favorite
right?
chart. It's so wrecked.
Yeah. USD, let's see.
Yeah, DXY, right? Yeah.
Will it pop up like with this?
You'll probably get it with DXY. Yeah.
Wait a second.
Maybe
It's
not.
not really willing to show. So let's try to show off this one. Let's try to go here. DXY or dollar itself. Right? Is it going to show up? Yeah. So it's not going to show you. It's not going to show you like this entire history. But since the deflationary, just crash and shock of the Great Depression, 29 to 32, in the 20th century, since then, dollar has only been losing value extremely hard. It's lost about 95% of the purchasing power. So, and it's barely 100 years, right? So this is the type of a sort of like cash devaluation, which is accelerating over the time. Like, this is like, stop me somewhere, Scott, if I'm taking too much
I love
time.
it. I'm learning.
Come on, you know that shit already. But there is M2 money stock, the M2 money to aggregate stock supply, and this is actually the most hilarious chart that you could find.
Yeah, because that's really parabolic. Yeah.
Right. Let's go for the yearly chart.
So insane.
Right? We are talking about, this is pretty much like the amount of cash in the printed cash available, right, on the stock, like somewhere in the market. And most important sort of like point is that this candle 2020, it just tells you that about it's about 25-26%, right? Like, increase in one single year. This is the amount of money that they literally printed. It's unprecedented event, and this is probably the breakthrough moment in the dollar history, which I think is going to collapse. And fiat currencies are going to collapse, in my opinion, because that's the direction. It's collapsing, but slowly, so that nobody can see that, right? So to some extent, it's an actual hyperinflation that is just being managed so slowly that you couldn't tell, right? That you don't really see. And even if you see that, then you get the stimulus and you all of a sudden forget about it, right? So this is the most toxic chart. This is the reason why I think it's going to bring many wars in the near future. I'm not talking next year or next week. I'm talking about the next decade and decades. I'm sadly very pessimistic about it. There is entire World Economic Forum with Klaus Schwab, who's German leader for the World Economic Forum, and they already shared their agenda for 2030. And it pretty much like said, I had an amazing podcast with Mark Moss the other day about it, and they shared that you're going to own nothing and you'll be happy, right? You're not going to have any ownership. Like all the homes would be rented, all the cars will be rented or leased, right? All the like scooters, electric scooters, all of it is going to be rented, right? Which means that if you keep renting that, if you keep leasing that, then you're actually not an owner of that, of course. So what I know is that you should sort of like counter trade it in long-term perspective. And it may happen like it used to be in the past, that the government would actually come for your wealth. They would ban having gold and silver,
Sure.
right? For example,
the United States has done it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm referring to, right?
Yeah.
But see, like this is the last sort of like comment. See what Bill Gates has just done. I don't really like him as a person for his ideologies and everything. I truly believe he's one of the people responsible for the actual misery on the planet in the past couple of years. But that's another story, right? That's sort of like my belief and my theory. But what's unprecedented, what's confirmed, is that he's just become the biggest landowner, farm landowner in the U.S. At least to the reported amounts. So do what the wise and big money do, because they're wise and they have a lot of money because they exactly know what they're doing with their money. So this is the tip, right? Perhaps buy land, invest in hard assets.
Yeah, when I talk about taking profit, it should be very clear. I'm not taking, and people always say this, like, why would you buy dollars, man? I'm like, I'm not sitting in dollars. Are you nuts?
No.
Like if I take profit, I put it in something else. I put it into land. I bought a bunch of land this year. I'm looking for more land. You know what I mean? And I couldn't agree more. You have to buy hard assets. I always joke that dollars are for spending and everything else is basically for saving. Hard assets. Somebody had a question here, and I know that you have thoughts on this. Can you guys chart ETH USD high time frame for us? It seems when Bitcoin hits its all-time high, money will flow to ETH next. What do you think about it? And I know that you have some pretty strong opinions on Ethereum. So do I, but love you to share yours because everyone's heard mine.
Okay. Let me just play it. I can see in the meantime some references to the conspiracies. I'm not necessarily a conspiracist, guys. I mean, whatever I'm saying, I mean, you can listen or not. That's your choice, right? I'm sharing my opinions, just like Scott sharing like at the very early stage of this session, that whatever we share is only our opinions, right? And this rig is only mine. Whether I'm wrong or not, this is not a story. If I'm wrong, I'm going to make a lot of money. I mean, if I'm right, I'm going to make a lot of money. If not, then not. Let's just play the Ethereum then, my USDT, right? But long story short, I mean, I'm actually buying a land, so I believe that.
Gotta buy land.
Yeah, getting land, hard assets.
When you get to the point where you can, most people can't buy land. I couldn't buy land until I was much older than, I wasn't like a millennial buying up farms.
But I'm concerned you still did have herd the other day at the time when I'm not really having my herd anymore. Yeah, Ethereum, guys. I mean, this is actually quite the listen up. I'm going to play out my amazing trading system. It's not for show because I honestly don't care if you're going to get it or not. Most importantly, this is my trend navigation. This is my system which I'm following, which flashed by sort of like a signal, that suggestion for Bitcoin at around 36,000, and it's never flashed it back again for the selling sort of like direction. That's sort of like my trading system, right? So which is what I am following. And the trading system is something that every single trader should have. And be it simple moving averages, or be it Bollinger Bands, or being momentum trading, whatever, you should have your set of strategy, set of rules that you're following. That sort of like a business model that you're making money off. most importantly, wait a second, let me just flash, like take down the trend box. This is like long story short, this is flashing, the momentum aspects. It's telling me that the momentum pretty much of this trend is extremely strong, right? Because the cloud, the wider, the bigger the bandwidth of the momentum wave of the sort of like orange, the stronger the trend. And the stronger the trend, there is also like smaller chances, the lower chances of the reversal going on. And you could literally just see in the past couple of what is that? Actually, like a month. This entire month, was sort of like how to call that? It was having quite some sideways vibe to some extent. It wasn't like so vertical, It wasn't so vertical. For this reason, that you would see, like especially in Bitcoin, you would see many of those sort of like potentially bearish chart patterns. Like you would see those rising flags, rising wedges, right? And rising wedge, if you open up a technical analysis book, right, you would see that, well, it's supposed to be climaxing and it's supposed to be peak, right? It's supposed to break down. And surprise for Bitcoin, when the trend is strong, and for Ethereum, it's going to break up, but it's not going to break up and just go channel up slowly, but it's actually going to short squeeze, right? It's going to squeeze the shorts because everybody would be shorting that.
Yeah, we just did it. We just did it in Bitcoin, literally. I always joke the rising wedge. I mean, even if you look statistically at like Bukowski or whatever, it's one of the weakest patterns that there is. But Bitcoin, I mean, in 2017, you could consider a rising wedge a bullish pattern.
Yeah,
it's always break up. It's more of a running wedge. Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, as I'm saying, I mean, chart pattern is actually an amazing story as well because. Technical analysis, especially the chart patterns, they work because we make it work, right? And because people believe they work, as they see
self-fulfilling. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They see a symmetrical triangle or ascending triangle, whatever. They read in a book that it's supposed to break up, and they are buying that. And by they're buying that, the price is being pulled higher, right? And it's actually breaking out, right? So it's actually like in a major part a self-fulfilling prophecy. But for Bitcoin and for Ethereum and for other markets, you actually sort of like need to have this. You need to know this market inside out. Like even if I close my eyes, I can literally just tell the weekly candles on Bitcoin throughout the past 3-4 years since the 2017 start. Right? I have this picture sort of like I know which candles work and which patterns work for Bitcoin statistically. And the rising wedges, like Scott shared, they tend to break up instead too often when the trend is strong. So here, 2160, 24,000, 2400, right? Those are the sort of like near term levels. But I do expect, much bigger sort of like retracement, much bigger pumps actually coming. And the chart is looking beautiful. Chart is looking vertical. Of course, I keep suggesting, that you should always lock up at least some profits, right, as you go up, because, well, of the nature of the volatility of the nature. The nature of the volatility of this asset is going to pull the price backwards, pull the price lower as fast as it goes up as well. So yeah, the new target's 2160. It's unquestionable, in my opinion, that we're actually 1959. Come on, we're almost 2000. Then 3000, I think, like Simon Didic of Moonrock Capital. I actually had an amazing podcast with him as well 2 days ago, or actually it was yesterday. I cannot even tell the days.
Yeah, right? What are days?
Yeah, we just we actually connected because himself and we actually shared a similar target for Ethereum that could be about $10,000. And I literally think,
I said that on Twitter the other day, and it got like 10,000 likes with like 9,000 comments saying I was nuts.
Yeah. So that's why exactly what may happen, right? 2,000, 3,000. I think, you need to look at it. Ethereum, like the Tether pairs, the USD pairs, they keep ascending as long as Bitcoin keeps ascending.
Of course.
But when you keep, and on top of it, if you have the ascending Bitcoin. And let's say at one point you're going to also have ascending Bitcoin and ascending USD, BTC pair, with Ethereum, then what you're going to see an actual sort of like pump on steroids, right? And this is still early. Like the peak of 2018 came about, 0.12 for Bitcoin, and we are like, what, 70% down still, or 60% down, right? 70% down. Come on, right? So this or even more can be still managed on top of the USD increase, right? Which is going to aggregate sort of like a result from the Bitcoin US versus USD increase and Ethereum versus Bitcoin increase. So you're going to have like this pump on steroids, and I think it's going to happen. And this may actually climax Ethereum around 10,000, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree. I agree. I mean, listen, I'm just I just happen to have mine pulled up as well. I mean, I've been so bullish on Ethereum for so long that it's not like maybe I'm just the weirdo who keeps staying that way. But like, we just entered price discovery on the Ethereum USD chart. This was like we had all this action, the break of the descending resistance, a confirmed double bottom, hitting every one of these targets, and this is when it really becomes bullish, right? I mean, we just saw it. How fast did Bitcoin go from 20,000 to 55,000 or wherever it's sitting today when it went into price discovery? What, see BNB today in the last week? What it's doing going into price discovery? So, I mean, I'm not even ascertaining targets. I'm just going to go ahead and say that my prediction is number goes way up. It doesn't really have to be that complex. But for me, once you break an all-time high that's been there for years. Also, I mean, if you even want to, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Last time Bitcoin topped, whenever that happens, it was a month later that Ethereum topped. So it's not crazy to think that once Bitcoin settles down, even if it's not a top and it's just a consolidation, that Ethereum is going to go absolutely freaking haywire. I think.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of comments over here. Most of them are just arguing about conspiracy theories at this point, which is always fun.
Sorry for bringing and triggering.
Whatever. I haven't dug too deep into Bill Gates. I kind of like the guy, Microsoft, whatever. I don't, everybody has their opinion, and I haven't dug so deep in the topic, which is why I just stay quiet sometimes. That's an important point. It's sometimes, guys, if you haven't researched something, it's totally okay to just admit you haven't and not argue with someone. I know it's crazy, and people do it on my Twitter all the time, but you could just, if you don't like something you read or you hear, you could just move on with your life, not react. Yeah. It's fine.
And again, I mean, those are only opinions. Opinions are different to facts. Nobody knows what's going on behind the scenes, to be honest. And neither I or you probably as well know what's going for real, or what Donald Trump or Joe Biden are thinking right now. Nobody knows.
Right. Yeah. All I know is that either person who wins is going to keep printing money. That's the only thing that I know for a fact. Both parties are going to print money, and that's what matters to us, certainly in markets. I don't know, someone's asking about the gas fee controversy. I don't know. Do you mean that gas fees are really, really high? Yeah, it's a problem. So that was most of the arguments against my bullish case for Ethereum. People are like, ha, five-figure Ethereum, it'll be five-figure gas fees. Well, maybe, but that's not why I'm bullish on Ethereum. I'm bullish on Ethereum because Grayscale is buying more Ethereum than it's being mined. There's institutional interest in Ethereum. And when people are done buying their Bitcoin, institutions are going to buy Ethereum because it's the next name on the list. And they don't care if the gas fees are high if you can't buy something on Uniswap, right? They're buying it because they think they'll make money buying a shit ton of Ethereum and holding it for a while. So for me, I mean, that's really my bullishness for Ethereum comes from that. If you want to talk about fundamentals, for me, it's who's buying it, not how it actually works. Maybe Ethereum 2.0 will fix it. Maybe, I mean, listen, BNB is going absolutely insane today. And the last 3 weeks. And I don't know if you saw, I did a video on this morning, but PancakeSwap did 1.6 billion yesterday in volume, and Uniswap did 1.2 billion yesterday.
Come on.
Wow. PancakeSwap is doing more volume than Uniswap, right? And that's because there's people who are going, well, I guess I don't need to pay $370 for a $2,000 transaction that might even the transaction might get canceled and I might still pay the gas fee. Yeah. And so listen, there are competition is good. There's going to be competitors, but Michael Saylor, I think he's very much Bitcoin, but guys like him who are interested in Ethereum are not going to make the jump to other assets, right? It's going to go from Bitcoin to Ethereum, and then we'll see. in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely quite a quite about, again, sort of like guessing, because we don't know, we never know what's going to happen. We never know if Ethereum is going to go 10,000 or Bitcoin is going to go 100,000 or 500,000. It's going to go back and upwards, left, right, whatever. Nobody knows that, right? Nobody knows if we are not fucking crashed by a planetoid in about 1 month from now in real time. Nobody knows that. But most important sort of like a part out of it is that the Ethereum congestion, the Ethereum sort of like interest, the demand for Ethereum is definitely rising. The fees, right? Just sort of like how the entire blockchain works, and there's sort of like a free market within the blockchain itself, right? That is matching the sort of like the biggest fees with the biggest sort of like computational powers. But most importantly, you see, just like Scott shared, a lot of competitors like Binance Spot Chain for now, right? You see a lot of competitors, and those competitors are going to keep sort of like racing who's solving the problem better. And so this is sort of like this snowball effect, this positive snowball effect, that is going to keep it accelerated. But I don't think the high gas fees would stop Ethereum from reaching $5,000 or $10,000. I mean, you see a lot of irrationality, right? You see like somebody fucking bought an NFT that is like 16 pixels or whatever. It's like costing 2.5 million or something, right? Right now, you know what I'm talking about, Scott.
It's so, I mean, listen, man, God bless. I've walked to the Museum of Modern Art in New York City and seen a white wall with a frame on it that's worth millions of dollars. So I don't see it's
there you go.
Yeah, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and so is value. So
we should become painters, though.
Yeah, I should paint a white wall. Apparently, you'll make millions of dollars and hang it in the Museum of Modern Art. That'd be awesome.
I know.
Well, yeah, I think we're getting up here with time only because I have to get my kid because I'm a dad, and that's what happened. So, guys, everyone, well, I'm supposed to tell you to hit the like button, but I never remember to do that. But apparently, that's a YouTube thing. But absolutely, and I'll put it in the description. I forgot, but go follow Birb. It's crypto_Birb, right? Yeah, on Twitter.
Yes, it is.
Correct. Crypto_Birb. Check out the guy has so many things going on: newsletters, podcasts, groups. Like you said, 1 million of subsidiaries. I remember once when we were in Vegas, like a year yesterday, I think you told me, you were like, I'm going to build like $1 billion empire.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, this is happening.
I might have been drunk that day, but I don't know.
And I see it happening. So it's great. But guys, absolutely follow him. I'm going to have Birb back on here a lot. I just love chatting. What's funny is we didn't even discuss any of this before.
Yeah, that's true.
I said, hey, do you want to come on? And he was like, yeah. And then at like 1:59, I was like, hey, buddy, sign on. He was like, okay, cool. What are we going to talk about? I don't know. And here you go. So this is just two dudes talking and having at it. So thank you, man. I don't know if you have any more parting words, anything you want to say, tell people where they can follow you and catch your stuff.
Yeah. I truly appreciate it. I mean, I love that we're good friends, Scott, and I'm a big fan of yours. You're a big idol. And listen, everybody, I believe, Scott is one of the most reliable people on here in the space, and the growth of the growth of his brands, like the newsletter, all the stuff that he's sharing with you for free or in the paid is definitely undervalued, and highly recommend, just giving back the love to Scott, to Scott, because he definitely deserves that. And on top, if you will, thebirbness.com, you're going to find tons of free resources that are said to be the most actually, of the highest recognition, the highest reputation, the quality, the infographics, the free newsletter, the webinars, the podcasts, and so much of it. Thebirbness.com. Feel free, go ahead, drop me a DM if you want to talk or know more. But until then, Scott, you are the best, and I love you.
You too, man, of course. Hey, thank you once again, everyone. And we are, momentarily, we will be out of here. Bye, guys.
That's dope.